Hello, everyone. Good to be here. It's a pleasure for me. Good to see you all. So, yes, I'm Lourenco Trevenzolli. I'm the Director of Engineering at Liferay, and one of my main responsibilities is to help the teams achieve their peak performance. So let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about the AI tools that are helping us doing that. So that's the next button. All right. I have it all here. Yeah, but before we talk about tools, let's talk about some underlying principles that frame everything we're doing. And first, people, right? So we're using AI not to replace people, but to help them work better, right? So it's about people, about the tools we give to them, about the processes, right? And let's go, some other principles. So I'm here happy to announce that we are one of the first companies worldwide that is certified on responsible AI. So we've got the certification and we are using it internally as well. And one of the things that you can see here, that human oversight is absolutely important. So it's not gonna go code for me, it's gonna help me coding, right? I am under control. That's human oversight. Right, so where to invest first, right? So we're talking about the software development lifecycle, where it hurts more. So we have a bunch of tools. We're going to show some tools for you today. And let's start by support. A couple of years ago, we said, well, let's start using those things. Let's innovate. Let's put innovation to work here. And we built 3 different tools that are now helping us a lot. So according to the Hungarian office, we are 4 times faster now solving bugs because of those tools, right? So for example, the ticket assistant, when we receive a bug, it helps summarizing everything that is happening. We give it a bunch of context. So all the learn.liferay.com articles, all the previous problems. So we used embeddings, RAG architecture, everything to deliver this amazing tool. And it has, look, this is beautiful, it has a confidence level. So this one, for example, is a real example. We have 90% of confidence that the solution that the AI is giving to you is gonna work. Beautiful, right? 4 times faster. So, and also anomaly detection for this, in this case for PaaS and SaaS. So we teach the LLM all the metrics that Liferay produces, right? Yeah, we put a nice architecture here with some pub sub to be quick on the response and to receive quicker. So we're more proactive now on PaaS and SaaS to find problems and solve them. And the nice thread dumps inspector. I like it. Some people say, I'm so used to analyze the thread dump. Leave me alone. But some people say, oh God, this is amazing. So that's a tool we give as an option to our support engineers to use. And it's producing lots of results. This is the way it presents to you. It can present in your own mother tongue as well, if you have problems with English. Right? It's okay, but we are here to talk to developers. Let's go down the local dev environment and talk about a little bit about the Gemini tools we're using internally at Liferay and already producing some nice results as well. So let's start by the Gemini Code Assist, the extension we are using in our VS Code or IntelliJ. So it looks more or less like this, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. It has a magic button here, agent mode. So it's not only about prompts anymore. Now it's about executing tasks for you, right? And it has a context. One context item in this case is a class, right? So in this case, it's helping me. And well, what is it doing? So I asked the developers of Liferay. They said, God, I'm using this to summarize the code. 70% of the people is using it for that. I'm using it to write unit tests. Beautiful. It's about quality, guys. It's about security. It has a security extension that checks for vulnerabilities in your code change. Come on, don't leave to your customers to find bugs for you. Never more. We don't have this excuse anymore. So we have a tool here to help you finding bugs, bringing security, and everything else. So beautiful. We're using it, right? Not everybody, though, but some people is already, we have some champions and people slowly getting into it. Another flavor of Gemini that we are using in our repositories, we have many. It's 5 minutes to install. I really recommend. You use the GitHub app to review your PRs. It's not going to be the only one reviewing your PR. We have more people. You have a team lead. Brian, in the end, is going to review your PR as well. But it's shifting left. It's shifting left the ability to check your code and to tell you, okay, this is what you're doing, and this is what my suggestion to you to change your code with high priority. Please don't do that. Do this way, right? So it helps a lot, and it's increasing everyone's productivity. And I checked the data. There's no change here. People saying, it's not changing my productivity. It's people not using it. Right? So I checked the data. So there, well, let's go to the Gemini CLI. Right before getting there, Javier is going to help us understand how it works. I'm going to showcase a little bit what we are doing internally. Something called, in the next slide, custom commands. So there is a team called Analytics Cloud, and whenever they receive a bug to solve, it's kind of complex. They have to read the ticket, understand subtasks, understand the problem. They have to find identifiers, open Google Cloud Platform, find the project ID, and then they have to check the logs. It's every time the same thing. So let's automate, right? So it's every time the same tasks. So what you do? You tell Gemini CLI some instructions. It's called custom commands. You tell, okay, Gemini, please, whenever I have a bug to solve, I'm going to give you a ticket. Why would you ever read a ticket again? You have to read the ticket, all the comments, analyze the sentiment. Is it escalated? Is it a high priority? Check all the articles, check the previous solutions. Boom, everything for me. Allow. It's going to present here. Step number 1. That's what you have to do. Step number 2, GCP in this case, could be Amazon. Use the MCP server and connect it there, go to the right project, get the right database, execute some query for me, check some logs, and bring back some solution. At least it helps in the morning when I'm getting my coffee to go out of that inertia state. So instead of taking 1 hour, why not taking 5 minutes? It's good. It's helping to have a better life, right? So that's what it's doing. And let's go over time here. I'd like to pass it to you. So I think you will go through the way you can configure it. Otherwise, I'll be around. I can show to you how to configure all those things. It's going to be my pleasure to show it to you. And Javier, that's your turn.
Thank you, Lourenco. Thank you. Okay, so I'm Javier Canadillas. I live in Madrid. I'm a Spaniard. I have a functional title, which is I'm a custom engineer at Google Cloud. So today I'm going to showcase a bit of Gemini CLI through the integration with VS Code. So here's one project that I have. You can see here is basically in the scaffolding. So it has a lot of documentation. I'll walk you through it because the main goal today is to understand how this can help developers to organize their workflow. And it's up to you to decide at which point you want help from the AI, right? It's not about substituting developers or you just doing vibe coding out of nowhere. It's about you defining the workflow, you consolidating the best practices and the things that you want the AI to do for you, and get the AI to help you doing whatever you have to do. Okay, so 2 things first. First is, the extensions that I have here. So of course I'm using Gemini Code Assist, which is the one that Lourenco told you about. This one is basically having AI-assisted development inside the IDE. But the other one is the Gemini CLI companion. So what is that? This is basically using the Gemini CLI, which is a tool that is open source that we released some time ago. It's still in preview. I think it's going to become GA before the end of the year. And this one is integrating nicely with the IDE, which means, whenever I have to use a Gemini CLI and I have a kind of a suggestion for a code change in a file, it will probably integrate with the diff view inside VS Code, which is something that is really nice, especially you like to work from the IDE, and you like to work from the integrated terminal, which is my case, by the way. Okay, so you can see here that I have Gemini already working for me. That's what it's telling me about it. And what you saw from Lourenco, which is Gemini Code Assist. You have general Gemini Code Assist with the chat and the code completion and all the help you can get from Gemini, and also the agent mode, which I'm gonna showcase using the Gemini CLI. Okay, so first things, let's start by using Gemini CLI. So this is just Gemini, right? So I customized it a little because I don't want to see, the big ass Gemini typography whenever I start, right? So I just remove that. It's a configuration file. It's everything. You can check it into your dot files. So everything is developer friendly. So you can see here that I have 5 MCP servers configured. You can have as many MCP servers as you like. This is just a simple configuration file. So MCP servers, as you may know, model context protocol. So it's a way of integrating the AI with external services. It is pretty convenient. So I will show you which ones I'm using here. But the main thing is that this respects different sets of configurations that are very friendly to the way you're used to work. The first one is the, let's call it the organization company configuration, which is something that is going to be pushed into your developer workstation through the main configuration files in your system, right? The other one is going to be your own machine configuration settings, which are in your workspace home folder, right? And I'll show you that. And the third one is going to be your own workspace, right? So you're working different projects, you want to apply different configurations to your different projects. So before using Gemini, let me show you that. So if I go to my home folder, you'll see that I have a Gemini subfolder, .gemini. And if I have a look here, I have settings. Well, let's use code. I have a settings.json file, and this one is configuring, for instance, the MCP servers that I want to use generally. So for all my projects. So I have integrations with GitLab, I have integrations with GitHub. I'm using really bad practices like putting my personal access token here, which is something I shouldn't do, right? I should use a variable, but I don't care because it's a demo. I'm saying things like, my preferred VS Code editor, VS Code, and anything that you want to express here with regard to your general Gemini configuration, you can put it here, right? So that's one thing, and the other one is going to be the memory file, which is going to be something really, really important here. So and I'm going to tell you about that before going into Gemini. So code, demos, library. Okay. So the next one is going to be the memory file. So what is that? This one. So this one is telling me the things that I want Gemini to consider whenever it's helping me. This one is contextualized to the workspace. This one is inside the workspace that I have active, which is called library. But I can have another one in my home folder. So I can have my own memory file for my whole setup in my developer machine. So what is this? This is telling me, the things that Gemini has to consider for this particular workspace, which is, okay, first thing, I'm going to do game development, basic games, web-based games, and I'm going to integrate those with, client sections in library. Okay, so a whole set of instructions for Gemini to help me, develop those games. Like, these are the structures you have to follow. You have to work here. Whenever you create a new game, you have to create a subfolder. Don't touch anything. Create a new branch for Git. Do, atomic commits. Document those commits. And, this is the workflow you're gonna follow. This is the, the structure that I want for the Git branches. Which is, date and issue and the number, because I'm going to be basing these new games out of issues that are created in GitHub, and I'll show you in a second. And then the game's requirements. Whenever I code a game, I want to expose a button for difficulty, and I want to start, stop, pause, resume. I have some, responsive game design guidelines. They are expressed in different markdown files that I have here. So you can see all, the particularities of that responsive design in different files, so you don't have to express everything in one markdown file. You can have a more sophisticated approach. And lastly, things about game execution and server execution. So all those are things that I want Gemini to consider. So whenever I start Gemini, it will read this file and it will consider that as part of what I call the memory, and it will merge it with your developer workstation memory, right? So everything will be merged. Everything that you have to consider for all of your projects and everything that you have to consider for this particular project, right? Whenever you are inside Gemini, you can modify this memory just by persisting anything that you found out while you were working into the memory file. You don't have to go out, edit the memory file, and all the stuff. If you prefer to work that way, you can do it, and then you can refresh the memory. So Gemini will consider that for the next prompt you're gonna make. Okay, so plenty of instructions here. That's one thing, memory. But the other one, which is interesting, is custom commands. And Lourenco told you about those. So let me go here, and let me go to Gemini, and you will see here a subfolder that is called commands. And this is where things get interesting, because I have 3 commands with subcommands. I have the plan command, which I coded for me, and then I have new, implementation, and refine. So what is this? This is the way, as a developer, I decided to work. So whenever I use Gemini, I want Gemini to help me plan whatever I'm going to do. And then I will review the plan. So I want Gemini to commit that plan into a file because, I'm a developer. I want to know what Gemini is going to do. And then I will ask Gemini to implement that plan so I can, follow along. So the first thing is when I go to new, you'll see here the definition of my custom command. And it's basically a prompt. This is the description. This is a prompt, and this is the full elaboration of the prompt. So I'm telling Gemini what's the mission, right? And the core constraints. I don't want Gemini to do anything in my developer machine that can change my configuration. So I'm telling Gemini explicitly not to do anything that changes my files. Everything you have to do inside a new Git branch. So everything's safe, right? Read-only mandate, comprehensive analysis, final output, and being very specific about what I want. This is the process. You will investigate, you will analyze and reason, then you will create a plan. And for the plan, I also have specific instructions. It will be inside a plans folder. It will have a particular name. It will use Markdown, and it will use Markdown checklists so that whenever Gemini executes a particular step of the plan, it will mark the step as completed. And I'm also asking Gemini somewhere, I don't remember where, I'm asking Gemini to log everything that it's doing inside another Markdown file, so I can review that after the fact, right? Okay, so this is the plan. So let me show you. Here's my GitHub repo. This is the same repo that I cloned in my local machine. So this has nothing. This is just showing up how to develop games. But I created a new issue. And the new issue is just to create a Tetris game. So here, by the way, I have a Gemini integration, which is, just classify the issues. So Gemini did that for me. And, it considered, I think, properly that this is an enhancement, okay, for the project. So just create a new game, Tetris game, fine. So I'll go back to Gemini, and now I'll go into full CLI mode. We'll start Gemini, CLI. And here, I will use, different things. You can see MCP, the MCP integrations that I have. So you see I'm integrated with GKE, I'm integrated with Cloud Run. I could be integrated with library. There is another MCP server. So I could be talking to my local instance library to do different things, right? Unfortunately, Docker desktop is forbidden by corporate policy, so I cannot show you that from my corporate laptop. but I have GitHub integrated, which is what is interesting to me today for this demo. Okay, so I can list issues just like that, okay? So it will try to find any MCP server that is configured. So Javier Canadillas, games. You know what issues I have. So it's going to ask me for permissions, of course, unless I tell it otherwise, in which case it will go ahead. Yes, I have an issue 1. This is pretty convenient, right? I'm working from the IDE, I'm working from the terminal. I feel comfortable working from the terminal, right? Okay, so I'm going to try my custom command, right? So plan new issue 1. So I want you to create a plan from the issue 1 that I have in my repo. And it knows that it has to go to Javier Canadillas/games because that's part of the memory file that is in my workspace. So I'm being very explicit, very specific, so it will know what to do. And it's following instructions. So the first thing it's going to do, okay, I'm going to check I'm going to create a new Git branch to track whatever I'm going to do, right? First thing is to create the plan file, right? So it's going to create the subfolder as I indicated, and then it's going to write the plan. And if it's writing the plan, it should ask you for permission to see, the difference, the diff file of the, current plan markdown file, right? So let's see. Yes. So I have integrated with VS Code. So this is the checklist, feature implementation, plan Tetris game. So all the things that I want to do, so I can, accept that. And if I accept that, it will continue. Yeah. So, yeah, writing. So I have created a plan. So now you can go to the markdown file, modify whatever you don't like, and ask Gemini to continue. So let's continue. So I'm going to do a new command now, which is going to be plan implement. And I'm going to implement that plan, right? So just by saying that, it will consider that, any file that I have in the plan folder will have to be implemented, right? So it's going to write it's going to create a new branch and the same branch and proceed with, in this case, the Tetris game. And I'm going to enter something that I, wouldn't recommend unless you want to go full Vive code, which is something I think is slightly dangerous. But I will go into YOLO mode, right? So you have that in Gemini. So you only live once, Control Y, and then it will go and execute everything, right? So you'll see everything that it's doing. So basically, it's creating all the different things, like the plan. So it's creating a Git branch, switch to new branch, create the game directory, create the HTML file, the CSS file, the JavaScript file, commit the changes. I forgot to do this for the demo, but if I ask Gemini to do this as a library client extension, it will do so, and it will generate the proper YAML files, so everything is ready for you to deploy on library, right? So because I have the documentation, by the way, inside the workspace, so it will know how to do it. Okay, so let's continue. So it's doing all that. So it's creating the Tetris directory as I specified in the proper custom command for implementation. It's generating the index HTML file. It's going to generate the proper JavaScript files. Of course, you have to review all these because this is just, we call it intelligence, but it's not really that. So it's just an assistant to the developer, which is the one that is putting here the intelligence. So, but I'm getting all this scaffolding, right? So I can work from there, right? This is a very simple example. But anyway, you get the idea, right? I'm going into the different kind of modes you can get from here, like, from per programmer to full, assistant. I'm going into the full assistant mode because this is the novelty, right? But, the reality of your workflow is going to be somewhere in the middle. Okay, so yeah, we have the JavaScript file. Okay, we are updating the plan. Perfect. And at some point, it will test that the game is working. So now it's doing that. Sometimes during the demo, the game won't work. Things will fail, like, the game won't stop, or, the pieces won't start falling down. It will detect that, and it will try to modify that and correct that before showing you the working game, right? So there is a server failure here, right? So it will start, researching why the server is failing, because it doesn't pass the tests. So it will start trying to modify that until something is working. So you get all these things here, like, we followed this. We had the log files that I asked for, so I can, as a developer, I can go there and investigate what was going on, what Gemini is doing. I have my plans here, so if I open the plans, I can, check whenever it's done, like, in this case, create the basic HTML structure is implemented, right? So everything else will be updated while it's happening. Let me close that. Yeah. Okay. And let's go back to the, I have a lot of changes here. Let's go back to the terminal. Yeah, still, trying to pinpoint what is the issue with the game, but you get the idea, right? So the important things here for you to get is that this is agent mode. So it's basically using the agentic approach. You have the two big concepts, which is one, first is the integration with the IDE and the configuration, that is, developer specific, and then developer workstation specific, and then company specific, and the memory file that is working for Gemini, that is expressing whatever you want Gemini to consider whenever you are coding a particular piece of project. So that's it. I think we ran out of time. This is what I wanted to show you, and I invite you to try it out. Of course, you have a licensing library, but as individuals, you have a free tier of Gemini Code Assist, so you can go there and try it. And Gemini CLI is an open source tool. You can, download it, use it, and contribute to it freely. So that's it, and thanks for being here and attending the demo. Thanks.
Thank you. It's really a game changer. Thank you so much.